Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Dr. John Viola, Middle Tennessee State University. We're talking about the impeachment trial going on in Washington. But Dr. Viola, this is certainly an unusual impeachment trial. Impeachment trials are usually not held on the very site of where this actually happened, and all the jurors in this are actually witnesses to it. It has made what the House managers have argued even more vital, and especially with the new video that they've had. I mean, they have made an extraordinary case, although it may not make a difference to get a conviction.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the most revealing things, I believe it was yesterday, perhaps the day before, was seeing, Senator Romney apparently headed in the direction of the crowd before police officer Goodwin directed him in a different direction.
There may be as many as 5 or 6 Republican senators, based on the constitutionality vote, that will vote to convict the president. Maybe not that many, or maybe more, but more likely no more than 5 or 6. What does that say that 5 or 6 members, it'll be the most bipartisan impeachment ever, whatever that means. But what does that mean about the future of the Republican Party? Does that indicate that there is sort of a schism going on in the Republican Party about Donald Trump and about maybe the future direction of the party, period?
I think it does. One thing to remember is until the last impeachment of the president, the first impeachment of Trump, Romney was actually the first person in the Senate who ever crossed party lines. So if we went from that one vote to 5 or 6, that would be significant. I think, frankly, there are fractures in both parties right now. You have tension between, Biden and the more progressive wing of the Democratic Party. But I saw just last night, there was a new group saying that, maybe they were going to form a different branch of the Republican Party. Frankly, I think the Republican Party, I think the person who should leave is Donald Trump. I think he is less representative of the Republican Party than those who are considering forming a third party.
If any of those senators decide to vote in favor of conviction, are they going to face what members of the House are already facing? That is a censure by their own state parties and other kinds of things that look to try to shut them down. Is that likely where they're going to continue to sort of embroil things in the Republican Party over this whole issue?
It might. One difference between the House and the Senate, and this was very important in doing the Constitution, is, House members serve 2-year terms and they're supposed to be on a relatively short leash. Members of the Senate serve 6-year terms, and particularly for those that have been just reelected, that means they have quite a, who knows what's going to happen into 2 years, much less 4 to 6 years. So they certainly have a little bit more leeway than those who are anticipating 2 years from now being reelected.
In states where people have to register to vote by party, we're seeing tens of thousands in some states moving over out of the Republican Party, maybe moving over to be a Democrat or moving over to be independent. What does that mean? And that's not happening in Tennessee, is it? Because we can't register by that, but all 7 of our 9 congressmen voted in favor of the president, and our 2 senators did as well. So is Tennessee not the sort of the part of this schism going on in the Republican Party?
I think that's right. Now, at the local level, I know I got a call from a former student not too long ago who said he had been an ardent Trump supporter and an ardent leader in the local Republican Party, and he was through with supporting Trump. So I think, I think the state as a whole has been one of the most faithful to Republicans and to Trump. But the problem with the future is it's hard to see it till after it's taken place. History
doesn't repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. Do you buy into any of the comparisons out there that Republicans may soon split up and go the way of either the Whig or the Know-Nothing parties from back in the 1850s?
Well, again, it's always possible. It's also possible that, what we will see as people think about this, that there will be a change in public opinion. One of the things that's fascinating is when Richard Nixon resigned, the Congress did not continue with an impeachment, and the Senate didn't try to exclude him from future office. But part of it was he probably couldn't have been elected as a dog keeper after all the hearings in the summer and all the things that we knew. And if popular support erodes for Trump, the Republican Party is not going to stick with him.
But it would have to take quite a bit of change right now. Some of the polls I've seen basically say 90% of Democrats want President Trump convicted, 90% of Republicans want him exonerated. That's probably the prima facie case of why this country is so politically polarized.
It is. We're more, it's not quite to the point of the Civil War, but we are very polarized. The Republicans have gone further to the right and the Democrats to the left. But a lot of what we see right now has less to do with right and left than it does, Trump is a galvanizing figure both for lovers and haters. It's just, if you get people in a room, they either think he's God or next to it, or they think he's the devil, and there's not a lot of room in between.
President Trump has also raised a lot of money in the weeks and months after the election. He carries that money with him. Do you think it's more likely he'll use that perhaps to even start his own patriot new political party, or might he have to use it for his own personal needs, both in terms of business and perhaps defending himself for what may be lawsuits or other investigations?
I think there are a fair number of lawsuits possibly coming, income tax in New York, interference in Georgia, and, possibly others. In my own view, one of the reasons that Trump seemed to perpetuate, the lie that he had really won and whatever seemed to be for money-raising purposes. And as I understand it, there's very little restriction on what he's able to do with it. So that certainly, gives him more clout than he would otherwise have.
Dr. John Vowell, Middle Tennessee State University political science professor, is our guest on Inside Politics. Back to continue our conversation after you watch these messages.